Discover the incredible journey of a hidden hero. 30 days that changed everything forever. In a town where everyone knows your name but hides their shadows, Ryan watched the last rays of sun dip beneath the horizon, casting long, ominous fingers over East River. Just last month, he had a job, a reason to walk tall, but today, the weight of unpaid bills felt like a 100-pound anchor. As he sat at the dinner table with his 2 children Zoe and Max nestled close, the delicious aroma of their mom's famed meatloaf was bittersweet, topping off a meal infused with tension. Behind every giggle and bite was an unspoken fear. A knot in Ryan's stomach that twisted tighter as he looked at his kids and thought about their future. How could he provide? The autumn leaves crunched underfoot as Ryan stepped outside, the vibrant colors a cruel contrast to his fading hopes. He took a deep breath, the chill biting at his cheeks. How could it be that dreams could collapse so easily like a flimsy house of cards? As he set to work in his cluttered garage, he felt something stir within him, a flicker of defiance. Today was the day he would craft a new identity, a local handyman business that could give him a chance to fix more than just broken pipes. And then whispers rippled through the town. Curious expressions flicked like shadows across familiar faces. What is he thinking? They murmured, eyebrows raised. His friends, who he had once laughed with at barbecues, now stood in disbelief. Even family members didn't hide their skepticism. But it only stoked the fire in Ryan's chest. He was determined to uplift not only his family but his neighbors too, who faced the same storm. His hands trembled but his resolve hardened. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The first 30 days flew by in a whirlwind of chaotic energy. Ryan turned grueling chores into community projects that made strangers smile, vibrant schools revived with fresh coats of paint, playgrounds glittering like new, and a widow's leaky roof patched just in time for the rains. It felt like they were growing closer, each hammer nail bonding them as a collective heartbeat. But doubt still haunted him. Every completed job held whispers of caution from naysayers that clung to his shoulders, and when Gary, a corrupt contractor, swept into town like a storm, his needling tactics and loophole exploits a direct threat to Ryan's dreams, tensions boiled. The fury ignited within Ryan sparked new fervor. He would not let greed hold his community hostage. He rallied the townsfolk, heart pounding, brow furrowing. But fate had a twist, drawing cameras to his grassroots movement. The nation began watching with bated breath, as Ryan fought against the encroaching shadows of deceit. The stakes had skyrocketed, and with them came a tremendous weight on his shoulders. Standing on the edge of not just renovating houses but mending the very spirit of East River, a question lingered ominously. Could a passion ignited by desperation create real change? Would this be another story swallowed up by time? Or could it bring back the heart of the American dream, not just for him but for them all? The air crackled with tension as Ryan hastily assembled his thoughts. Behind him loomed the idea that this was more than just a battle for his existence. It was a fight for the town's soul. The weight of all eyes rested upon him, judging with a blend of skepticism and burgeoning hope. They needed him to be their hero, but what if he failed them? What if he failed his family again? The day after his impassioned rally, morning light spilled over East River. Ryan woke up with determination coursing through his veins, yet uncertainty gnawed at him. As he sipped his coffee, he caught a glimpse of Zoe and Max playing in the backyard, their laughter light and carefree, a sound he feared might be threatened by the encroaching darkness. A lump formed in his throat as he realized everything he did was for them that morning. He reached for his rusty toolbox, now a symbol of his rebirth, and headed out to attend to the Smiths' home, whose porch needed some serious TLC. It was a straightforward fix, but with every swing of the hammer, doubt crept in like fog. Would his work hold up under scrutiny? Would the smiles he earned be snuffed out by Gary's cold business tactics? As he worked, he heard voices approaching. The buzz of muted chatter grew louder until the group emerged, neighbors drawn by reports of his efforts. Their faces held a mix of expectation and curiosity, hungry for change but also wary. Ryan's palms grew sweaty. What if he faltered in front of them? Hey Ryan. One of the onlookers, Lisa, called out. We heard you're doing amazing things around here. Yeah, thanks for stepping up. Chimed in another voice, Mike, who had been silent for too long. The praise lifted his spirit momentarily, but in the back of his mind, he could feel Gary watching from a distance, hidden like a wolf in the shadows, relishing every stumble, every falter. The tension in the air thickened as the group gathered around Ryan. A desperate need for unity mixing with the fear of failure. Can you really handle this? A disbelieving voice piped up. Gary's contractors are ruthless. There's no way a handyman can take them on. Ryan's heart sank. Had he been too bold? What if they were right? His voice caught in a chokehold of panic as he countered. I'm not just a handyman, I'm here to make a change. The response was a mix of murmurs, and for a fleeting moment, he thought he saw a flicker of agreement in their faces. But the uncertainty clung to the crowd like humidity before a storm. Ryan squared his shoulders, letting the defiance in his heart rise. You all deserve better. We can take this town back. The words hung in the air, electrifying. Would they unite, or would fear paralyze them? Each gaze met his, searching, questioning. And then it happened, a flicker of energy shifted among them. One by one, heads started nodding, fists clenched. But as the crowd rallied around him, a chilling shout shattered the moment. Turn back, Ryan. You'll only get hurt. It was Gary stepping forth like an ominous dark cloud. A handyman like you? You don't belong in a fight you can't win. Ryan's heart raced. The crowd tensed, wavering between support and dread. Was this the breaking point or the beginning of something greater? Fear and anger twisted within him, longing to break free. He swallowed hard, his voice rising above the din. Stand with me or stand alone. I refused to back down. The challenge hung in the air, vibrating with promise and dread. The crowd shifted, and Ryan could almost taste the charge of the moment. But nothing ever came easy, and trouble was closing in fast. What would happen when night fell and the shadows returned to haunt him in his dreams? In that moment, with hope and dread intertwined, Ryan realized he would settle nothing without confrontation. And the clock was ticking. The moment hung in the air, fragile and electric as tension surged. The crowd's loyalty balanced on the edge of a knife. Ryan could feel Gary's presence, dark and oppressive, like a thunderstorm ready to break. Ryan, Lisa called out, her voice trembling with fear and resolve. What are we supposed to do? We're not fighters. We're just regular folks. Her question slashed through the charge in the air, exposing the cracks in their resolve. Anxiety swept the crowd like a wave, faces shadowed and uncertain. I believe in this town. Ryan shouted, desperation dripping from his words. If we let Gary win, if we back down now, what happens to our homes? Our families? We can't let fear rule us. Murmurs spread out like ripples in a pond. A few neighbors exchanged glances, but it was hard to see courage dwindle beneath the threat of Gary's taunts. Fight back. With what? Tools and hope? A man stepped forward, his brow furrowed deep. That's a nice dream, Ryan. But dreams don't pay bills or bring back what we've lost. The weight of his words struck Ryan like a punch. He swallowed hard, feeling the pulse of defeat flicker in his chest. Would they all rather hide than fight? Then we built something new. He held out his hands, open and pleading. It starts here with us. We can't let a monster smother our light. I won't let him steal our dreams any longer. For a moment silence draped over the crowd, thick and suffocating. But then movement stirred. Zoe and Max appeared at the edge of the gathering, their innocent faces searching for understanding. Daddy! Max broke through the tension, waving. Are you gonna fight the Batman? That innocent question pierced through the cloud of fear. A collective gasp floated through the grown-ups, each of them suddenly faced with their own vulnerabilities. Ryan's chest tightened with a mix of pride and fear. Mommy says heroes protect everyone, Zoe added, her eyes wide and earnest. Ryan knelt, drawing them in close. Yeah, but heroes come in all shapes and sizes. It's about standing up when things get tough. As their small hands clutched his, something changed in the crowd. They saw their children, their reasons for fighting, for standing brave against Gary. Are we really going to let one man take our dreams? Ryan's voice rang out, jolting the crowd. I'm in. A man shouted from the back. Me too. An older woman chimed in, and soon voices soared, one after another. A swelling wave of courage rising, but Gary, seeing his foothold slipping, stepped forward, eyes blazing with fury. None of you know what you're dealing with. You want the town back? You'll have to go through me and you won't survive. With that, he turned on his heels, storming back to his sleek truck parked ominously at the curb, leaving a palpable tension hanging in the air. Ryan felt it too. Dread seeped through the outpouring of hope. What's next, huh? A meeting? Strategy? All I can offer is my heart and a chance to push back. The crowd looked to each other, doubt still lingering, but determination began to harden in their eyes. They would stand with him, but what would that truly look like? Meet me tomorrow evening, Ryan declared, voice shaking yet firm. We'll plan how to take our town back. We won't just fight, we'll outsmart him. As the crowd began to disperse, Ryan watched their determined expressions. The thrill of possibility surged through him, competing fiercely with a gnawing fear. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that seemed to taunt him, reminding him of the battle ahead. Each diminishing light felt like a countdown. Would they be enough? And would Gary truly play his hand next, revealing weapons Ryan wasn't prepared for? That question loomed in the growing darkness as night fell, chilling every sense an impending storm, one that had only just begun. The next day arrived shrouded in fog, a thick blanket that held the town captive. Ryan stood at the usual meeting spot, barely able to see the familiar faces approaching. The unease hung in the air, palpable like morning dew, settling softly but ominously on every structure, every hope. As the crowd gathered, whispers flared up like sparks from a fire. Their expressions mirrored the clouds above, heavy, gray, muted. Lisa's eyes darted between faces, uncertainty gnawing at her heart. Did everyone bring what I asked? Ryan called, trying to mask the anxious tremor in his voice. He held a notebook, pages filled with hastily scribbled ideas and plans, a flimsy shield against the dread creeping down his spine. One by one, people stepped forward, each carrying items: baseball bats, shovels, gardening tools. They were not weapons, just symbols of defiance. Ryan felt a surge of hope. It was a start. Good, he encouraged, urging them on. We may not know how to fight like the pros, but we can be resourceful. A man in the crowd, Casey, piped up. But what if Gary sees us? What if he retaliates? We can't just wave our tools in front of him. Ryan's stomach twisted. Fear was a living thing, crawling from person to person. We can't hide, he answered, his voice steadier than he felt. If we give in, we lose everything. This is our stand, not just for us, but for our families, our future. Just then, a sound cut through their resolve, a deep engine rumbling like thunder. Heads snapped toward the sound, eyes widening in recognition. Gary's truck roared into view, halting at the edge of the assembly with an intimidating whine of brakes. Gary stepped out, outshining the clouds with his confident swagger. The smirk on his face felt like a punch, and Ryan's heart raced with a mix of fear and fury. What's this? A town hall meeting? Gary taunted, hands on his hips. You honestly think you can take me on? You're just a bunch of scared rabbits and I'm the wolf. The crowd stiffened, voices dwindling, replaced by heavy silence. Ryan could see the flicker of doubt begin to threaten the collective courage. Get out of here, Gary, Lisa shouted unexpectedly, her voice fierce yet trembling, surprising even herself. The crowd turned to her, surprised. Ryan nodded, feeling strength echo through him. Yeah, you don't scare us anymore. Fury flickered in Gary's eyes, igniting like a combustible path. You really want to play this game? He sneered, stepping closer. I'll show you what happens to those who dare oppose me. He turned then, his phone in hand, and pressed a few buttons. A few moments later, piercing sirens echoed through the streets, sending a chill down Ryan's spine. What did you do? Ryan shouted, dread heavy in his voice. Just a little call to my friends, Gary replied, the grin widening on his face as he stepped back, reveling in the chaos he unleashed. You'll see, no one will come to your rescue. Panic washed over the crowd like cold water. People shuffled, fear rising anew. Ryan's heart pounded as the realization struck. The town wasn't just facing a bully, they were facing a power that reached deeper than they anticipated. Stay together. Don't let fear divide us. Ryan roared to re-establish control, hoping to steer the failing ship back on course. Yet, as the sirens grew louder, the crowd's resolve started to crack. Ryan, someone whispered, fear wrapping around their words. What if he's right? What if we can't win? His throat felt tight and heavy, doubt sneaking in like a thief. Did they really stand a chance? As the sirens blared closer, a familiar figure appeared, a gleam of authority lighting her features. It was the sheriff, Anna, emerging resolutely from the crowd. "Ryan," she called, a storm brewing in her expression. "What's going on here?" "You need to explain." Before she could finish, Gary interjected. "Just teaching them a lesson on respect." "Isn't that right, Sheriff?" But the clash of emotions faded into the background as Ryan's mind raced. Was this the ally they needed or another crushing blow? As tension spiraled, one thought pulsed loudly in his mind. How far would they go to win? The sirens drew near the town. Wasn't he just on the edge of a fight? They were about to be pulled into a battle they never asked for. With everything at stake, where would they stand now? The air vibrated with tension as the sirens approached, and Ryan's heart thudded in his chest. Sweat trickled down his back, a reminder of the stakes. They had come to stand their ground, but now they were staring down a possibly deadly confrontation. Anna, the sheriff, stepped forward, her face a mix of determination and concern. "We can handle this," she said, voice firm but steady. Her gaze shifted to Gary, who lounged against his truck, confidence radiating off him like heat. "Handle what, exactly? A bunch of wannabe vigilantes?" Gary laughed, a gravelly sound that felt like nails scraping across Ryan's mind. The crowd divided slightly as he moved through them, the fervor deflating under the weight of his mockery. "Enough!" shouted Anna, her authority crashing over the murmurs. "Let us hear them out, Ryan. What are you trying to do here?" Ryan opened his mouth, but the words tangled in his throat. Everyone's eyes bore into him, expectant, hopeful, yet trembling with fear. He could feel them all leaning on his resolve, and the pressure weighed heavily upon him. He stepped forward, summoning every ounce of courage he had. "We want to take back our town. We want to fight against the fear he spreads. If we don't stand together, he'll keep pushing us down." A ripple of agreement pulsed through the crowd. It felt electric. Hope ignited in some eyes, though uncertainty still lurked. Gary pushed away from the truck, his face twisted with rage. "Fight? You really think a few tools are gonna save you? You're just playing house. I'm in control here." Before Ryan could respond, the sirens grew nearer, their banshee wails cutting sharply through the gathering. People began shifting restlessly, scanning the fog-draped streets as if expecting a squadron of armed forces to pour in. "Please, everyone." Ryan's voice rang out again, steadier now. "We have to stay calm. If we split, we're easy targets." But Gary was relentless, stepping closer, eyes narrowing, mocking the conviction in their group. "Calm? What's calm gonna do when they ask me who's causing a ruckus? You'll be thrown out like yesterday's trash. And when they come, you'll wish you'd stayed quiet." A voice broke through Lisa's, unwavering. "We'd rather face the risk than live in terror." Her words bolstered the crowd, igniting murmurs of agreement, soft but growing louder. Ryan glanced at Lisa, his heart swelling with gratitude. Could she really be this brave right now? "That's right," he roared, adrenaline pushing him forward. "You think we're scared? We're tired. Tired of hiding. If Gary wants to fight, then let him." The sirens were now a cacophony, a chorus of chaos filling the streets. A police car swung into view, tires screaming against the pavement, blue lights slicing through the fog. Everyone froze. "Here they are," Gary hissed, but with more dread seeping into his bravado. As the police car skidded to a stop, the community felt a spark of hope. But with it came a pang of fear. Would they really come to support the town or side with the bully before them? The officer stepped out, sunglasses glinting in the low light, expression unreadable. As he advanced, Ryan's stomach churned. Uncertainty blended with the fog, raising questions far too risky to answer. "Stay united," Anna commanded, snapping Ryan back to the moment. Her voice was a lifeline. It was time to face whatever would come next. But just as the sheriff stepped toward the newly arrived officer, Ryan saw Gary's expression shift, a wild, unsettling glint sparking behind his eyes. His phone buzzed ominously again, and Gary grinned like a predator spotting prey. A pit formed in Ryan's stomach. "What else do you have planned, Gary?" The grin widened, cruel and calculated. "I just made things a whole lot more interesting and dangerous." Ryan hardly had a moment to comprehend, before the sudden blare of another horn reached their ears. deeper and more threatening than before. What now? Lisa gasped, holding onto her bat as though it were a lifeline. Ryan turned to where the noise was coming from, matching their collective gaze with dread. One question loomed large in all their minds. What had Gary set in motion this time? And that chilling thought froze them, each person waiting on the edge of a knife. The night was young, and the real battle was just beginning. The air thickened with uncertainty as more vehicles approached, the heavy rumble reverberating through the ground. Ryan squinted into the fog, straining to see what was coming. The shadowy figure of a larger truck swept into view, barreling down the street with an intensity that sent shivers skittering down his spine. "What is that?" Lisa whispered, her grip tightening around the bat. Her voice barely rose above the hum of the crowd, but everyone felt the same electric tension coursing through them. A bulky figure emerged from the cab of the truck, silhouetted against the fading light. As the crowd parted to make way, recognition flashed in Ryan's mind. It was Hank, the old mechanic from the edge of town. His eyes were fixed with fierce determination as he stepped into the glow of the police car's lights. "Ryan!" Hank shouted, his voice hoarse but fierce. "Get the people out of here. It's time to go." "What?" Ryan shot back, confusion crashing over him like a wave. "Why would we run now?" Hank's expression morphed into something more urgent, more desperate. "You don't understand. Gary's got backup. You have to get them away from here before it gets ugly." Ryan felt a jolt in his gut. He wanted to trust Hank, he always had, but the implication of his words stirred panic. The crowd murmured with disbelief, the earlier surge of unity falling fragile against Gary's looming threat. "You think I'm gonna let him take my town?" Ryan declared, stepping forward. "We're not going anywhere. We're standing our ground. You can't fight a war you didn't prepare for." Hank's voice cracked as he insisted, eyes darting nervously back toward the truck. "He has more than just muscle backing him now. You're playing with fire." But before Ryan could respond, another figure stepped from the shadows, a tall man dressed in dark clothing. He approached the gathering with a swagger that sent a chill down Ryan's spine. Gary's grin faltered as his eyes locked onto this new arrival. "Didn't he expect you here, Zach?" Gary sneered, breaking the tension. "Did you come to watch me crush these losers?" Zach didn't smile back. He moved closer to the edge of the crowd, eyeing Anna, then shifting to Ryan with a look that felt both knowing and dangerous. "You really want to go through with this?" His voice, low and gravelly, felt like an echo through the fog. "This isn't just fun and games anymore. Real lives are on the line." Ryan's throat constricted. Doubts flooded through him. Was this fight worth the risk? The moaning siren seemed to grow louder, as if summoning the chaos. Then Lisa stepped into Ryan's line of vision, her eyes glowing with resolve. "They've pushed us long enough. I'm not backing down," she declared, voice trembling yet fierce. The crowd stirred in response, energy rising like a wave as people clutched bats and tools defiantly. But the unpredictability of Zach's presence weighed heavy in the air. The way Gary eyed him made Ryan uneasy. "Let us just see how brave you are," Zach taunted, turning his focus to the crowd. "You think you can take a stand? Or are you just a bunch of scared sheep following your fearless leader?" For a moment, tension thickened into silence. Each heartbeat echoed in Ryan's ears, threatening to drown out any rational thought. "Fear is just an invitation to fight harder." Anna spoke, stepping beside Ryan, her voice steady. "You know that better than anyone, Zach. We've stood together through worse." But as she spoke, it became unmistakably clear Gary wasn't just gearing up for a standoff. He was orchestrating something much bigger. Something more sinister was brewing beneath the surface, ready to unleash chaos upon them all. Before Ryan could fully grasp the weight of that thought, Hank stepped forward again, urgency etched across his face. "You need to make a choice. This isn't just about standing together. You have to move for your safety. Now." Ryan's mind raced. Could he really back down when hope twinkled at the corner of every uncertain heart in the crowd? Questions clawed at him, to fight or to flee. The weight of leadership hung heavy on his shoulders, and just then, a crushing silence fell over them all, as the night crackled with an impending storm of uncertainty. What was coming next would decide their fate. "Will you stand with me?" Ryan finally shouted into the expanse, his voice trembling yet resolute. But as murmurings filled the air, A final thought echoed through Ryan's mind. Was this the beginning of their true fight or the final countdown to their total collapse? The answer loomed as threatening as the shadows expanding around them. The chaotic murmurs of the crowd swirled like leaves caught in a gust of wind. Ryan's heart raced as he stared at Hank, desperation clinging to the air between them. Gary's crew was gathering, their intent clear in the eyes of their leader. Behind them shadows shifted, revealing more figures, ready to unleash whatever hell Gary had planned. Ryan! Lisa's sharp voice cut through the noise, pulling him back to the moment. Look! She pointed toward the encroaching darkness. A flicker of movement caught everyone's attention. Flashlights swept over the crowd like predator eyes, and tension snapped tighter. They're coming! Someone shouted, panic rising like bubbles in boiling water. Stay calm. Ryan barked, though his own voice shook. He couldn't afford to show weakness. The crowd needed him. We're together in this. But before he could finish, the first flash of light crashed against the onlookers. It was a blinding beacon, illuminating faces twisted in fear. A quick shuffle echoed as people instinctively clumped together, shivering under the impending threat. What are we doing? Zach's voice rang out again, deeper, more menacing. You think they'll hesitate to put you down? They'll crush you like bugs. The edges of awareness closed in on Ryan. He felt Anna's hand on his shoulder, grounding him. We can't let them intimidate us. They need to know we're not weak. We're not scared, she spoke, voice barely above a whisper yet laced with strength. Ryan looked out over the crowd. The faces before him were a hodgepodge of anxiety and resolve, some fathers, some mothers, old friends, all waiting for him to lead them. An almost mythical resolve settled over him like a mantle. I won't let fear rule us. He yelled, voice cracking but firm. This town is our home. Are we really going to let them think they can scare us away? Are we going to back down? A wave of reluctant agreement surged from the crowd. Some gripped their makeshift weapons tighter. Others took resolute steps forward, emboldened. Just then the shadows around began to morph. Gary's thugs advanced, menacing figures clad in leather. Ryan swallowed hard, feeling a lump in his throat as he recognized two familiar faces, among them friends turned foes, corrupted by power and greed. Ryan! Hank's voice cut through the tension. Now's the chance. Move them. We can still make it safely out of here if we don't stick around. But something in Ryan's gut screamed to stay put. The adrenaline surged through him like wildfire, igniting his determination. No. This ends tonight. Zach stepped forward, his confidence radiating danger. You're making a mistake. You're going to blow everything. Suddenly, a thunderous crash echoed from the truck, punctuating his words. Metal screeched as the back door swung open, and a gang of men with menacing faces shouted their rallying call. Let us paint this town red. One bellowed, brandishing a bat. Panic erupted. Ryan's heart raced. The time for words was over. He could hear the crowd whispering, fear crawling back into their resolve. The heavy sound of boots striking pavement grew closer. Grab anything. Keep them back. Ryan shouted, his voice booming now with authority. The crowd erupted into action. Lisa swung her bat, rallying nearby, while Anna grabbed a solid piece of debris from the chaos that was unfolding. Ryan could hardly think. All he felt was that surge, that need to protect, to fight for the town that had been his entire life. As the first figures crashed against their improvised line of defense, Ryan faced the oncoming tide, prepared to stand his ground. And in that moment, a sickening realization hit him. What would happen if he failed? What if this was the day he lost everything he loved? And just as he prepared for the confrontation, a low thrum filled the air, vibrating through the ground beneath them. A new shadow loomed, dark against the glow of headlights. It was bigger than anything they'd faced before. Every heart froze in the moment's agony as they all turned, horrified. Who or what was coming to join the fray? The answer to their struggles, their fears, hung precariously in the balance, waiting to be unleashed. Would help arrive? Or would everything crumble into chaos? The answer was just a heartbeat away. The ground shook beneath them, a deep rumble that made Ryan's stomach twist. The shadows cascaded across the road, growing larger as the source of the tremors approached. He squinted, trying to make sense of the ominous figure emerging from the darkness. His mind raced. Was it friend or foe? Get ready, Anna shouted, gripping a chunk of concrete. her eyes wide with a mix of determination and fear. The crowd shifted restlessly, each heartbeat echoing like drums of war. Suddenly, the headlights illuminated a massive truck, its engine growling like a beast unleashed. Ryan's blood ran cold. The beast was no ally. It belonged to Gary. As the truck pulled to a screeching halt, the back door swung wide open. A legion of gang members, faces twisted with malicious glee, poured out, wielding crowbars and bats. "Time to play," one hollered, laughter dripping with menace. "No," Ryan yelled, voice laced with desperation. He couldn't let panic seize them again. "Form a line. Hold together." Lisa and Anna stood firm at his side. People, emboldened by Ryan's fierce resolve, scrambled to create a wall of courage. They were scared, but now they shed their fear like a weight. Together they slowly began to push back. But as they did, the low thrum evolved into a deep roar, drowning out their shouts. Ryan's eyes widened as he finally caught sight of the figure moving past the truck, an enormous motorcycle, its chrome gleaming malevolently in the dim light, and behind it stood a towering man clad in leather. The air crackled with danger and a mysterious allure. "Who is that?" Someone whispered, the words trembling through the crowd. "Who cares?" Zach snapped, panic snapping at his last strands of sanity. "We have enough problems without adding to them." Ryan shifted, his instincts sharpening. Amidst the insurgent chaos, this newcomer felt more potent than anything he'd ever faced. But what was he doing? Was he ally or enemy? As the man drew closer, he lifted his helmet, revealing a face marred not by scars of defeat, but by the grim determination of a mercenary. He tilted his head, assessing the chaos, and a fierce smile cracked his lips. His posture suggested he understood the stakes and he intended to raise them. In a moment of clarity, Ryan caught the glint of determination in the man's eyes. "We stand united against Gary's crew," the biker roared, raising a massive fist into the air. "I've got your back." Cheers erupted from the crowd. Could it be? Ryan felt a mixture of hope and skepticism surge within him. Was help finally here? Or was this just another player adding to the chaos? The thugs hesitated. Uncertainty flared between them like wildfire. The presence of the biker ignited a sense of power among the townsfolk. With a low growl, the nearest gang member took a step forward, swinging a bat. "Fight!" Ryan shouted, the word bursting forth like a dam breaking. "Fight for your home." As the crowd surged forward, propelled by adrenaline and fear, Ryan squared his shoulders. He couldn't let this chance slip away. The tension thickened, fists clenched, breaths held tight as the first blows fell. But just when it seemed the tide might turn, a startling crack echoed through the night, an unmistakable sound. Something shattered in the distance, instigating a wave of panic. Every face jerked as they turned once more, mouths agape, hearts pounding. "What now?" Anna cried, her eyes shaking with dread. Ryan's mind raced. The night had shifted again, and he wasn't sure if this was the moment they finally turned the battle in their favor, or if the real fight was just beginning. The darkness hid more secrets, and the stakes had just escalated. What awaited them next? The air thickened with impending danger, and as he readied himself to face whatever came, he couldn't shake the feeling that this fight was only the beginning. The sound of shattering glass echoed ominously, silencing the chaos for a heartbeat. Ryan's heart pounded in his chest as he squinted toward the source of the sound. A flickering light danced in the distance, glinting off scattered shards of what had once been a storefront window. "Get back!" he shouted, instinctively pulling Anna closer. The crowd seemed to freeze, uncertain whether to stand and fight or retreat. Tension hung in the air, sharper than any shard of glass. Out of the flickering glow, a shadow moved, crawling low, and for a moment Ryan thought he saw a figure. "What is happening?" Zach muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. Then like an explosion they appeared. Shadowy figures sprawled out from the darkness, the wind whipping around them like angry spirits. They sprinted forward, their faces obscured, eyes blazing with wild intent. "Not gang members. Not friends. Take cover," the biker shouted, drawing a sleek weapon from his belt. His presence transformed into something magnificent, an ally born from the heart of the storm. Ryan's instincts kicked in. "Fight!" he called again, the conviction in his voice rallying the crowd. "We're not going down without a battle." The townsfolk surged again, this time armed with courage and raw fear. They took up makeshift weapons, swinging anything they could find. Metal pipes, bricks, and even shards of glass. Just then, chaos erupted as the attackers lunged forward. The crack of metal replied to the thud of fists, and sounds of visceral combat filled the night. Ryan's heart raced as he joined the fray, fists flying, fighting not just for survival but for everything they'd lost. Anna and Lisa fought beside him, unyielding fear replaced with fierce resolve. For every swipe of a crowbar, they answered with a strike of their own. The adrenaline thickened in Ryan's veins, his mind a flurry of motions and survival instincts. But amid the melee, he caught sight of the biker. The man moved through the throng with a controlled ferocity, bringing down attackers one after another with a fluid grace. His focus burned intensely, a lighthouse guiding them through this tempest of chaos. Ryan noticed the hooded figure he'd glimpsed before struggling to break through the line of defenders. It looked different, more frantic. "What are you doing?" Ryan shouted, desperately trying to emerge unscathed from the fight. The figure stopped, and the flicker of red light reflected from a weapon strapped to their thigh, a gun. "No!" Ryan yelled, realization striking like a bolt of lightning. "Get back!" The shadow didn't listen. A shot rang out loud and jarring, cutting through the clash of combat like a knife. Ryan ducked, narrowly avoiding the ricochet, but a scream shattered his thoughts. "Anna!" Panic gripped Ryan like a vice as he turned, searching the mass of fighting bodies. There she was, crumpled on the ground, eyes wide in disbelief. The biker roared with fear and fury, lunging toward her, but Ryan was faster. He plowed through the throng, heart racing as he reached her side. "Stay with me, Anna," he cried, adrenaline coursing through him as he checked for wounds. "Please, you can't leave us." The crowd continued to clash around them, a storm of chaos. But Ryan's world had narrowed down to a single breathless moment, Anna's face, pale and terrified, and the growing realization that this fight might cost him everything. And then he noticed the shadow retreating, slipping back into the darkness, gun still in hand. Who was that? He gasped in the chaos, dread seeping in. The glimmer of a plan flickered in the biker's eyes. "We've got more than just Gary to worry about," he said grimly. Ryan felt the weight of those words settle heavily on his chest. The fight wasn't just for survival. They were dealing with a menace beyond their understanding. Uncertainty flooded him. What other threats lingered in the night? Would they ever escape this nightmare? As the last echoes of combat began to diminish, one question pounded through the chaos. Who had their backs now, when shadows had come alive in the very fight for their lives? Ryan knelt beside Anna, panic twisting like a knife in his chest. "Stay with me, Anna. Please." The world around him faded into a blur, the fight continuing without him. Voices shouted, chaos reigned, but all he could hear was the pounding of his heart and Anna's labored breaths. Ryan, her voice was barely a whisper, but it held weight. He could feel her slipping, the fear palpable in the air. Tears stung his eyes, mixing with the dust and sweat. "You have to keep fighting." The plea ignited something within him. Every ounce of love he had for his town and the people in it surged forward. "I won't let this beat us, I promise," he choked out, but the reality was unbearable. Anna was losing consciousness and he couldn't accept that. "Help! Someone help!" he screamed, eyes darting in frantic search of any ally. The fight still rumbled around them, making the air thick with tension and fear. But amidst the brawn and chaos, Ryan felt the tug of anger weaving through his worries. Anna had stood strong for everyone, she couldn't just fall here. Suddenly, the biker surged past him, a blur of muscle and resolve. "I need a medic now." He pushed through the crowd, grabbing a paramedic's bag from a fallen teammate. "Take a breath. You're strong, Anna." His voice deepened, reverberating through the chaos, grounding Ryan as he watched the biker work swiftly. Meanwhile, another figure emerged. "Hank. We need to push them back," he shouted, pulling Ryan's focus. "This isn't over. We can't let them threaten us anymore." Determination harshened Hank's voice, pulling Ryan back into the reality of their battle. Ryan nodded, forcing his feet to move, anger replacing fear. They had come too far to let Gary win. He glanced at Anna one last time, her face pale but determined, then turned to face the throng of fighting bodies. "We're not backing down," he roared, charging into the conflict with Hank by his side. They rallied the townsfolk, who still stood strong, those they had fought for, those who believed in the revival of East River. Keep together. We're better in numbers. Ryan rallied, the adrenaline pushing him forward as they pressed against Gary's crew. With flashes of metal and the rhythmic pounding of fists, they fought like lions, refusing to wilt. They were not just defending their homes. They were fighting for each other. The biker cut through the attackers, offering frontline support, and Ryan noticed how the tide began to shift. The crowd surged with renewed strength, every swing of a bat connecting not just with bone but with hope. But just as victory seemed within reach, Ryan felt a sudden movement to his right. A menacing presence sprang forth from the shadows. "Zach, you think this is over? I'm not stopping until I see you all crushed." His voice echoed like a thunderstorm amidst the clash. Ryan's heart pounded fiercely. He could see the fear across the faces of his neighbors. "Stay with me," he called, bracing himself. "We've come this far. We are more than just a town. We are family." Drawing strength from their unity, Ryan felt the power of commitment swell within him. Zach charged, fist raised. In that defining moment, Ryan felt everything crystallize into clarity. Their home was worth fighting for. He stepped forward, taking the blow for Anna and everyone behind him. The force knocked him back, but he didn't stagger. Instead, he surged forward, dodging beneath Zach's swing and countering with a strike of his own. "Enough!" he yelled, launching into a rebuttal that sent shockwaves through the fight. With each step, he didn't just fight Zach. He fought for his community's dream. And then the unexpected happened. A ripple of agreement spread through the crowd. One by one, they surged forward, standing shoulder to shoulder, an impenetrable line of defiance. "Together!" someone shouted, and the chorus resonated, igniting a fire in their hearts. As the mob pressed forward, Ryan felt hope take root amidst the chaos. They were a unit, a force to be reckoned with, and they would reclaim their town. Each strike was a vow, not only to stand against greed but to rise up together. Finally, Gary's men faltered, reality crashing upon them. They were not invincible. They faced a united group unwilling to cower any longer. As silence fell over the remnants of the fight, Ryan saw the glimmer of surrender in Gary's eyes. It felt surreal, the way years of tension unraveled. "Leave our town," Ryan spat, voice ringing with triumph. And with that, hope surged through them once more. A howl of victory erupted, the sound more glorious than any moment before. The dawn of a new beginning settled over East River. They had fought tooth and nail. Together, drenched in sweat and triumph, they had faced fears that had loomed larger than shadows. As the sun broke over the horizon, illuminating the bruised but defiant fighters, Ryan looked around. Faces he loved shone with a vibrancy that had been missing for far too long. With a strong embrace, he leaned into Anna, now safe in the arms of their victory. "What's next?" she asked, her voice just as fierce. "Rebuild," he said, determination gleaming in his eyes. "We rise together." In that cherished moment, amidst abundance of hope and the thrill of survival, Ryan recognized his journey was just beginning. Not just for himself but for the entire town, a family united, ready to carve out a new future. Now is the time for all of you. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories, because you need to stay updated. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. It really helps us. And the comments section? I want to hear from you. Flood it with your reactions and theories about this explosive ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this fight unfolded. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let's keep the momentum going.